Imagine a bunch of lines, maybe a line for boys, maybe a line for boys, a line for girls, showing the percentage that suffer from anxiety, depression, or that have self-harm. Those three really go together. And imagine these lines, they move around a little bit, but they're actually pretty stable from the 1990s all the way through 2010, even 2011. There's no sign of a problem. On some measures, they're getting actually a little bit better.
Because stable and low?
Stable, well, low, if they're around, say, 12, 15% of girls qualify as having had a major depression, that's much higher than we would like. That's a problem, but it's nothing compared to what it is today. So the lines are pretty flat until around 2012. And then all of a sudden, the lines for girls go up like a hockey stick. It's not a subtle thing. It really is. There's an elbow. It's like somebody turned on a light switch in 2012. Now, that's for the American data. Internationally, you see very similar things. It's not necessarily 2012 in other countries. But the girls' graphs are very sharp. The boys are also up on depression and anxiety. They're also way up. Depending on the measure, it's usually everything is in the ballpark of 50 to 150%. Almost all the numbers are in that range. We're not talking 10 or 20% increases here. For most things, we're talking close to a doubling, especially for the younger girls. The boys' curves, interestingly, are smoother. That is, the boys are more depressed and anxious. But it's not 2012. It actually often begins more like 2009, 2010, and then it just keeps going up gradually. So that's a real clue, which we'll come back to when we talk about the boys' story. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's just self-report." Just the Gen Z, they're really positive about mental health, and they're willing to talk about it. That's a good thing. But the fact that we see the exact same curves, the very sharp uptick for girls in hospital admissions for self-harm, psychiatric emergency department visits, and we see this in the U.S., Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the U.K., the Scandinavian countries. So something happened across the developed world around 2012, and I keep, Jean Twenge was the first to really raise the alarm. She and I keep saying, well, we can't find another candidate. Nothing else fits the pattern. Oh, and there's actually not just correlational data. There's experimental data too. So we think, of course, look, everything's complicated. Mental health is complicated. If you want to understand why one person is depressed, there are going to be many stories. But if you want to understand why depression rates rose for girls faster than boys all over the developed world, unless someone can find like some hormone-disrupting chemical that was suddenly sprayed over Northern Europe and the South Pacific and the U.S. and Canada around 2012, there is no alternative explanation.